Hello everybody. It's been more than a minute. It's been years. Yeah, literally years. Year plus and some change probably if you are coming back from the podcast side of things, and multiple years if you are used to seeing my face on a YouTube video for those great few of you that watched me back in the day. I'm back! My initial thoughts on the movie are that it's good, but it's not great. Robert Pattinson is by far the standout of the movie. He plays multiple versions of himself. You would argue this is primarily a dual performance because he is playing both Mickey 17 and Mickey 18. He's fantastic in the movie, and the one thing I'd really say that stands out about him is how distinctive he was able to make both Mickey 17 and 18 feel from one another without them having to work in some sort of a gimmick of, oh, they're wearing different clothes, or oh, he has a different haircut, or something of an obvious cosmetic extension, if you will, to make the audience understand who the other one is. Another good thing about this movie is Mark Ruffalo at times. Let me be clear on that. At times, Mark Ruffalo is good. I think he might actually prove to be a divisive point in the movie to some folks, including myself. I didn't love everything that he did. Toni Collette is also in the movie with him. She plays his wife. She's good where it counts. Like, she's weird and quirky just like he is, even menacing at times. I also enjoyed both of their satirical looks at just politicians in general. Now, there is one particular politician that's getting a lot of direct reference in relation to Mark Ruffalo's character on this movie. I'm not going to mention that politician's name. There's plenty of thoughts for years and years on that person out there. You don't need to hear that from me. But I do think their overall satirization of politics as a whole, withstanding this one person that's getting a lot of comparisons to Mark Ruffalo, it does work out overall, especially if you pay attention to the world of politics today without trying to single out any one politician. They sort of get the genesis, if you will, of some of the ridiculousness and nature of current politicians today, and they put their own interesting twist on that in the movie for the sake of this story. Now, on the opposite side of things, where I think that their characters don't work out so well, or I should say their performances don't work out so well for me, is when they really kind of start to ham it up a bit more than what I think is called for in some of the scenes that they're in, almost to the point of it being like borderline cartoonish, mustache twirling Looney Tunes villains. I think there are too many subplots. It's impossible for me to get into the problems and issues that I had with the subplots of this film without getting into slight spoiler territory. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and throw up a spoiler alert to go ahead and talk about the issues I have with the subplots right here. Spoilers! First subplot, which you could say is actually a main plot of the movie, but I'm just kind of jumbling all the plot points together so that you can really understand how many plots are going on in this movie simultaneously. First, Mickey 17 gets cloned accidentally again, thus creating Mickey 18. Was really supposed to happen because Mickey 17 was thought to have been killed, at least by the corporate overlords that create and print him. They didn't know that he lived from the armadillo roly-poly things, which I'll get into here in a little bit, and therefore Mickey 18 is now there. He's not supposed to be there because it creates multiples. Multiples can't coexist. As a result of Mickey 18 coming into the picture, his girlfriend finds out about it and basically is like, what do I do about this? Namely, how can I do him? I shouldn't say that, but I mean, that's essentially one of the plots in this movie. Mickey has a supposed best friend. That's another plot point in this movie that he gets into trouble with on Earth. Best friend is played by the actor Steven Yeun. Forgive me, I can't remember how to pronounce his name. But this is just one of several subplots in the movie that doesn't really go anywhere. I mentioned that there's a colonization aspect in this movie, so they go to this winter planet for reasons that, unless my memory's foggy, I mean, I did only see the movie once in theaters, and it's been a little bit since I've seen it, so perhaps I forgot. It's not really clear to me why they went to this winter planet. Not really sure exactly what they're trying to achieve, other than just, hey, we have a different world that we think we can get people to breathe on because we subjected one of the Mickeys to breathing tests, I guess, until they can get the air right and then live amongst the roly-poly things. Like, it's just not really that clear to me, this particular plot point on here, because I wasn't really sure if they were trying to like harvest a mineral, if they're trying to harvest the roly-poly things, if they're trying to, again, just set up shop and create some homes on a different planet. Not really clear. And so that was just something that I didn't really feel had any resolution on it, and just kind of was in the movie, and it wasn't that effective for me. I talked about the roly-poly creatures. They're actually called creepers in the movie, but I'm just going to revert to calling them roly-polies because I did it a while ago. I'm not editing it, so there you go. There's these alien creatures that are on the planet that are like armadillo / roly-poly things. They're called creepers. They have different versions of the creepers. There's like baby creepers, I don't know, preteen creepers, adult creepers, and I don't know, maybe grandpa creepers. Maybe that's in there. I can't really quite tell their ages. One is furrier and larger than the other. Yeah, I don't know. They have this plot of the humans trying to communicate with them. To what end, I'm not really exactly sure, and maybe that's not really the point, but it's in there. It takes up runtime in the movie, and some of that stuff I found interesting, but then there were just segments that would go on with these roly-poly creatures where I'm like, what are we doing? Like, what is the point with this? And even when I got to the end with those creatures, I still didn't really get the point. So, could just be me being a dumb reviewer of this film, or it just could be another subplot that wasn't really needed. There was also, I don't even know if you want to call it a subplot, but it felt like one, of the wife of the politician, Toni Collette's character. She has this thing with making sauces, or wanting to synthesize and make different sauces and have people try it. I don't really know what was happening there. It felt like on the page, maybe it was just like a character quirk that she wanted to add to give her character some dimension. Not sure. To the audience member, I'm just like, well, I guess she likes her sauces, and she's gonna keep trying to make different iterations of them, and as a viewer, I don't care. I couldn't care less about that. And then I suppose the last plot point that's in this movie, that this one actually had some meat to it as opposed to some of the other ones I mentioned. They have this ethical debate in the movie over the use of just printing humans, or cloning humans, essentially having multiples of the same person. That was interesting. I actually could have had more of that in the movie, but instead had to listen to Toni Collette want to make different sauce and see stuff with the roly-polies, and the girlfriend deciding whether or not she wants to have a threesome with her newly printed boyfriend. I mean, hey, maybe some of that stuff's entertaining and I'm just a dick that didn't like that stuff. I mean, you can tell me that in the comments, or don't. Whatever. I did find that just due to the weight and volume of some of those different subplots that didn't really add to the film, in my opinion, or really get clear resolution, they just, kind of padded onto the runtime of an otherwise interesting and well done film, but it just made the movie feel a little overcrowded and made the movie be a bit too long, in my opinion, thus making it just a good movie for me, one that is worth watching, but it's not something that I would say is a great movie, certainly not on the level of Parasite or Snowpiercer or certain others of Bong Joon-ho's, if you will. I prefer Bong Joon-ho's other films that I've seen over this one. Snowpiercer is still my favorite of his films. I like Parasite quite a bit. Okja, even that one, I do remember watching that on Netflix, has its merits, and I think those are the only films I've seen by him. I have not seen his entire filmography, forgive me. Yeah, I just think the guy has better films out there, but this is certainly not a bad film by any stretch. It's just okay. I do think this movie raises an interesting question on supporting new original films that are in theaters. Now, there's going to be some out there that say, well, Jordan, this is not an original movie. This was based off a novel. It's not like a truly original screenplay. Okay, but even being based off a book, it's not what I would call a highly well-known book. It's not something that like absolutely swept up in the culture where everybody was talking about the book, and then within months people are like, what studio's gonna hop on that, or what director or team is gonna get on that and adapt it into a movie. Not like that. So I'm still gonna go ahead and say that this is a mostly original idea and being brought to the screen by a original filmmaker in Bong Joon-ho. If you look at the box office returns for the movie, the interest and support in this movie doesn't seem to be there. Now, there's a lot of speculative reasons as to why you could say that this movie did not do better. Time of year for its release, the subject matter itself, it could just be the movie itself. Word of mouth is still extremely effective for movies, even in today's world filled with tech and streaming platforms, etc. It could just be a number of people talked about this movie to other people, or you watched a video like this and you're like, well, I mean, that about sums it up for this movie, so I don't really need to run out to see it. This is not exactly a glowing endorsement of that. All of those things could be factors into why this movie is not doing better. Now, personally, I think there is one answer. It's more of the big picture answer for why this movie is not doing better, and it's not a simple answer, but I'll go ahead and try to articulate this. I think that Mickey 17 is not doing so well because, frankly, streaming continues to evolve, grow, and unfortunately outperform the more traditional theatrical experience, box office, whatever you want to call it. Streaming is taking the cake on this. Like there's just so much content there. It's incredibly easy to access it, and I mean, it's harder and harder to get people to leave the comforts of their home and go to the theater, even if it is to support an original movie or take a chance on something new. There's still original stuff that gets released to streamers and people don't have to get up off the couch to go and see it. So what does that say? What does that say about us as, theater goers or just people that are consuming entertainment and media? What does that say about us? I think what it says about us is that we have a lot of options to choose from, and that if we want more movies like this to get made, certainly maybe not like a sequel, I'm not saying pitch Mickey 18, not saying that, but if us as movie theater goers want to see different properties get put onto the big screen, or we want to see more original works from filmmakers that we are inspired by, that are taking chances and are doing things that frankly we've gotten bored with when it comes to more traditional IP or franchises that we're familiar with or remakes, etc., then I feel like we owe it to ourselves to actually go out, pay the money, yes, pay the money, even if it is a late night matinee on a Friday, paid like $16, $17 a ticket, kind of painful, I get it, but if we don't do that as consumers, then the studios are just going to look at their bottom line, they're going to look at how much money that a type of movie like this makes, and they're just going to go ahead and say, well, this movie's not effective, let's go ahead and crank out Ghostbusters 15 or another superhero movie, or let's do a remake of this classic IP. That's what's going to keep happening, and those people are going to keep going to see that because to them it's familiar, it's safe, and it's comfort. I'm not saying I even love Mickey 17, but I am glad that I went ahead and took a chance on seeing somebody else's vision for something that I wasn't really familiar with. And I'm glad that it had a budget. It had a big budget. The movie looked great. Now, I am convinced that that budget came about because of him winning the best, I think he won Best Director in 2019. Did he not? The movie won Best Picture, and typically when that happens, studios will be like, hey, it's your blank check project. You got something you want to do? You just won the award of awards for the entire movie industry, so go ahead, take your time on that next one, and let's see what you got because you earned it. That's what some might attribute this movie to be. I'm not really sure, but what I do know is that I want to see more movies like this get put out. I want to see more original content. I want to see more asses in seats at the movie theater. I do. I mean, I even mentioned that I saw this movie by myself, but that's just because I enjoy going to the movies sometimes by myself. It's relaxing for me. But I want to also experience this with other people. I want to be able to have conversations about movies like this when they come out. And I'm going to get really sad if over the years original films only get relegated to streaming platforms and the only thing that gets somebody to go out to a theater is if something's got a bunch of explosions or it's super familiar comfort IP. I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think about that by replying in the comments, sharing this video with friends, doing it, whatever it is that you do to get the conversation going on this kind of stuff. I would appreciate that very much. Those are my thoughts on Mickey 17. Not going to give it a letter grade. Maybe I will down the road. Like I said, I haven't made videos for a number of years, so this is going to take me some time to kind of get my footing back on this. For now, I just wanted to treat this video as these are my thoughts on this movie. I hope that you find them interesting, informative, and potentially inspiring to either watch this movie or steer clear from it. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch. I know it's been a number of years since I have put out content. Perhaps I will make a video that does explain my absence on there, and knowing me, I might try to put some humor on that. I feel like I owe that to the people that listen to Screen Speak over the years. I feel like I owe an explanation, a real explanation as to why the podcast stopped and why I'm now back to making video content. And I think that time will come here. I think it'll come in the near future, but don't hold your breath on it. Just if I drop a new video and it looks interesting to you, go ahead and click on it, give it a watch, give it a comment, and I think that's going to be good enough right there. Thanks very much for taking the time to watch. Really appreciate you. You take care, keep watching movies, keep talking about them, and thanks for watching my channel.